every building to a climax but never reaching it. Music without beat, without end, timeless, eternal, pure. I was stunned. Nothing on earth was anything like this music of colour, blended with sound. Had I had a body, I would have exploded in sheer joy at just 5 seconds of exposure to this eternal symphony. I was surrounded by it from the moment I arrived, but not until this moment had I actually put my focus on it. I was hooked. I said, or thought, in stunned amazement, "What is that?" He smiled and said simply, "That is the capital where my Father dwells and where we are now going." So on we went. He was talking to me the whole time, but I was not really paying attention. I was utterly wrapped up with where we were heading, trying to lose myself in the eternal song. I wanted to be the song, to join with it. Try as I might, I could not quite grasp the flow of it. It changed from one moment to the next, always ascending into a new and unique stanza, and just when I thought I had it and was about to hum along with it, it would blend and change into something new, and no two stanzas ever repeated. Each was unique, each a masterpiece, each never to be heard again, as ever new stanzas were created and blended into the whole. Always building, always growing, always new, always utterly without description. He kept speaking to me, telling me of events to come in my life, main points and turnings in my life ahead. I was half aware of what he was saying, but he knew I was lost in the song, and this was why he waited until I was lost in the song to tell me, because everything he told me about my life ahead was forgotten on my conscious level, like a half-remembered dream. But as each event actually took place in my life, the memory would surface like a vivid déjà vu, and it would all be clear, and I would know this event, good or bad, was all part of the plan. We travelled for what seemed like days, or hours, or minutes. It's hard to tell time in this place. This place had no time. He laid out my entire life before me, from conception to birth, to the present, that moment when I was 15, to the very end, which is only a few years away now, going by the events and their sequence. Tomorrow I turn 44, 28th of December 2012. That year is pivotal for me and for the world as a whole. As to why? Well, it's something he said when we reached the capital. I will get to that soon because I want to describe the capital. It's awesome, and one heck of a work of a master builder, an insane architect. Insane as in awesome, not crazy. As we drew closer, the music did not get louder. It was at the same volume no matter where you were, but the light display that accompanied it grew even more brilliant. The colours would flow with the music. Each wave of scintillating fire, colour fire, wove through the sounds as they emanated from the centre like an explosion of choreographed fireworks accompanying the music. The sounds were the colours, and the colours were the sound of the sound. The centre, where the brilliance emanated from, still seemed hundreds of kilometres away. Still, set on this impossible horizon that was not a horizon. And at this point we reached the outskirts of the main capital, and wow. I saw the first buildings, modest really, reasonable, simple, compared with what I saw further in, but even these simple structures put to shame everything on earth. Take your basic hovel there, for example, the lowest of the simple things. I focused upon one in particular just to burn into my memory what the least of the creative powers of the master builder was capable of. It was about the size of your average house here on earth. It was constructed of pure elements. There were no bricks or mortar, no alloys or mixtures. Each part of that building was pure element. For example, the windows, the window frames. Hang on, here we go. There were no bricks. For example, the windows framed with a rich ebony-like substance shot through with gold veins. Each pane was what looked like pure diamonds or crystal. The walls of the house were like a short sort of moonstone, opaque yet solid. Light flowed in and through the walls themselves like a fibre optic cable in actual application. The light was taken from all around and magnified throughout the house. The windows would break the light into amazing colours and decorate the interior with rainbows of fantastic hue. Then the walls would absorb and magnify the light and send it streaming outward to the house next to it, and the process would repeat along each house, all sharing this amazing visual display and amplifying it to its peak, only to send it along again to the next dwelling and the next. I was utterly flabbergasted. What a design, and the mind who thought up this amazing idea of optical brilliance must be unfathomable. I looked at the Creator there next to me, amazed at how brilliant he was, that even the simplest of his building designs were thousands of light years beyond the most brilliant minds of earth. I saw him with an ever-increasing respect and awe. He just looked at me and smiled again, enjoying the moment like you would enjoy the look of your child's face as he sees with awe something his father had spent time and effort constructing just for you. A sort of pride of workmanship, satisfaction in a job well done. Yes, he enjoyed making all these constructs. He really enjoys creating things and loves to challenge himself in each one's uniqueness from the next, and each one's amazing simple complexity. He is an artist without compare, and keep in mind this was just one of his simple designs. There was far more amazing things ahead as we headed toward the centre of the capital. I took my focus then off this one house and noticed with awe again how the suburbs were designed. No two houses were the same. Each had its own unique design, and yet each and every house, some close to others, some further apart, each one, when seen from the air, as we were fit into a grander pattern. Have you ever seen a fractal design structure without end? It was like that. The suburbs were woven into an ever-expanding pattern of extreme order, and no two streets or houses were the same, but all fit together in an amazing grand work of art. The very colours of the houses, silver, gold, platinum, marble of all hues, ebony, copper, crystal, diamond, amethyst, citrine, even a sort of purple metal that I could not name, all wove together to form an amazing tapestry of design. Some single story, some double, some triple, and these were just the outermost buildings, the simple ones, and the light flowing through each house from house to house flowed from the centre. The storm of order, colour, and sound flowing throughout the houses in an ever-changing spiral of amazing complexity, lighting up the entire scene in a kaleidoscope of utter amazement. I simply could not grasp it all. I looked at the Creator again with awe, and he just enjoyed the moment. He even pointed out some unique parts of the design, like the way the river we had been following all this time was woven into the suburbs in vast spirals, interwoven waterways, each house having a small part of this river flying near or through or under it, feeding the whole. The main river flowed on ahead, surrounded by the most majestic landscaping I have ever seen. Parks, fountains, groves of trees planted in amazing patterns, according to size and colour, all woven around the river, which was the main theme. All flowed from the river, and the river flowed from, well, the throne. There in the distance, rising above the houses, was a building unlike all the others in size, but it was almost easily recognised as a throne. Hard to explain unless you actually see it. We travelled on, following the river towards the entire centre, where the light and sound had its source. We began to rise up higher. We reached about, I would estimate about 10 kilometres. He did this just so I could grasp some of the layout, and even then from that height the city stretched out seemingly forever. I could not see the edge of it. We were close to the centre now, only a few hundred kilometres away. I looked down in awe yet again as I saw some of the overall design. It was indeed a very organic fractal, spirals of ever-increasing complexity. Colours of amazing hue and vibrance flowed majestically through each suburb, blending with the whole in an endless dance of incredible design and workmanship. The river flowing ever straight towards the centre, the tributaries woven into and through the suburbs like a blue-silver lattice work woven into the grand design like threads of complexity in embroidery. And everywhere people, lots of people and angels, and millions of children running, playing, having an awesome time. No tears, no cries, all happy and all having an absolute blast. The kids, I tell you, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. There are so many of them there. But considering there are 30 million abortions each year, it's not really surprising. I looked around. I saw ahead a blank spot in the series of majestic spirals and parklands. A field, a circle of pure gold, like a field of burnished glass, like a bright citron colour. It was about 200 kilometres across from edge to edge. It was transparent because I could see the river flowing under it from right under the structure in the centre, the building that was also a throne. and looked to be about 2 kilometres high. We began to descend towards it, gradually getting closer and closer. The field was empty. Not a thing stirred on it. Not a bird flew over it. Like it was reversed for something untouchable until the moment its use was ready. The Creator and I settled down and down, drifting closer and closer to the throne. And this is the weird part. As we drew closer to the throne, we either became bigger or the throne became smaller. Not sure which. The throne was white, pure white, shot through with veins of gold-like fire, solid, eternal, and yet it was also a structure, a dwelling. I never did get an explanation for that except to realise that it was also an admin building, like a courthouse, seat of parliament, something like that. We settled down right in front of it. I reached out to touch it and then realised I had no body as such. But I did feel something like a purity, awesome power of utter authority, like the place where all decisions are made and all cases ended. This is where it got serious for me. There I stood at the base of the throne, knowing I had been there before, like a massive deja vu hit me all at once. I recognized this area of fire, of golden glass. I knew this throne. I knew this entire field. But where? When? My Creator looked at me like he was waiting for the realization to hit me fully. He was not smiling at this moment. He was rather serious, like he wanted me to remember the moment of when I had been there before, and was just patiently waiting for the memory to take shape. Having realized I had been there before, I said, "Lord, Creator." I didn't know how else to address him at that time. I know you. I know you know. I've seen you, this place, this throne, this sea of fiberglass. I have been here with you, but when? It does not seem like long ago, and yet how? He looked at me with a slight grin. He kind of looked proud of me in a way and said, 15 years ago, Earth time, you sat with me on my lap, up there on that throne. You were an infant, full of life and questions and curiosity. You were fresh from my mind, created almost an instant before, brought into being on earth direct from my very spirit itself. You were born very premature. You did not want to stay at first, so I brought you here to explain a few things and give you a choice. But first I sent you back telling you your time was not yet. You had a destiny to fulfill. And if you had stayed, you would never see it. I'll read that again. If you had stayed, you would never see it take place. Being an infant, you did not understand.